Okay, so now that we have Jenkins set up, let us make sure that we finish up the last portion of the setup. So we have already set up Artifactory. We have it up and running on port 8081. We have set up Tomcat, and we have updated Tomcat users to be able to access the manager as well as the manager script. We have set up Jenkins, and we have installed some of the default plugins, and we customized Jenkins to run on port 8090. And we have set up Maven, but there's one last piece of setting up Maven that is required to be able to communicate to Artifactory, and a secure way to communicate to Artifactory within your environment. So before we get in and set up Maven, let's take a look at what it means to get it up and running with Artifactory. So I'm here on Artifactory, the home page, and if you notice that we have 5 different repositories, and when I click on snapshot or when I click on release local, I have an option to generate Maven settings. When I click on that, I can select the repositories that I want to use, and I can click on generate settings, and it's going to generate a settings XML that we are going to use along with Maven to be able to communicate to Artifactory. But we are not going to use this specific file because I have created a couple of template files that you can use for pretty much any of the projects that you are using for your environment. So let's open up a text editor, and like I mentioned earlier, I already have Atom installed on my laptop here. Let me just go ahead and close everything that I had, and the beauty of Atom is you can pretty much add anything as a project folder. So here I have added my home account, I have added my download. So we're going to take a look at a couple of files called settings, which is used by Maven, and a settings security. So you can use these templates and copy in the same way as I show in the next section. And then we're going to generate 2 passwords that will help with securing the passwords of your environment. So one of them is called the master password, and the other one is just the encrypted password. So it's called encrypted master password, which would be, once generated, would be in this settings security file, and then we'll have an encrypted password which would be in the settings XML. So let's take a look at the settings XML real quick. There's obviously the settings section. There's a default profile that's being created, and we have set the default profile as an active profile. And I have 2 server sections within the servers node. One of them is for a release and one of them is for a snapshot. Within the profile, we have 2 repositories. One repository for release, one repository for snapshot. So what does it mean to have a snapshot and a release repository? The first time when you're building your code and you're still in the development stage, all your packaging will go to the snapshot repository. Once you're ready to tag the code and you're ready to prepare a release, once it's packaged, it will end up in the release repository. And that's where release management can actually come into picture, and they can make sure that any code that's being released to QA is coming from the releases repository. So we are good with understanding the structure of the settings and the setting security. Let's go ahead and do a couple of things. One, we want to copy these to the M2 folder, and so we'll create .m2 folder that will be used by Maven to download any dependencies into a repository folder, and then we're going to generate the password and plug in those passwords into the settings and the settings security XML. So let me go to the terminal window here. I'm at the root of my account. Let's double check that. And I'm just gonna list all files under that root directory, including the hidden files. And I'm going to create .m2 folder. And this is where we're going to copy the settings and settings security XML. And Maven will use this folder for reading from the settings file, as well as creating a repository folder where all the dependencies are downloaded. So the first step is copy from downloads, and because we just have two XMLs, I'm just gonna copy both of them to the .m2 folder, right? So if I go to .m2 folder now, I should see both of my settings files or XML files copied here. So the first step is to create a master password, and we can use Maven to create. So Maven, and I'm doing the short form, is generate encrypted master password, and the password value is password. Okay, so that's been generated. I'm going to copy that, open up my settings. You can use another editor if that's what is more comfortable for you, but I'm just going to copy the password here. I think I copied incorrectly, but I can fix it right here. And let me go ahead and save it. Okay, so we have updated the setting security with the master password. The next step is to create an encrypted password, and in that case it would be still password. So this is the password that I'm going to use to connect to Artifactory. Okay, so that's been created as well, and because we use that, let me show you how you can use Atom, which is an awesome tool, and it's one of the best IDEs that I've been using over the past few years. So copy that there, do the same thing here, right? So I've copied the admin password that was generated. So now I have my Maven repository connected, or Artifactory connected to the local host or the machine that I'm able to talk from here to Artifactory. And let's double check. I think I'm already in here, right? So just gonna make sure, and I'm just gonna do a Maven clean. So let's see what it does, right? So nothing. So let me try one more command here that will fail, for which I know that it's going to fail, but it's going to start downloading the dependencies that I need, some of the common ones that it's going to start downloading, and it's going to fail. So once this is run, if you look at a repository, and I can list everything within the repository here, I see some of the open source products downloaded already. So now that we have done through this exercise, we are good with the setup of Maven. So we have gone ahead and generated the settings XML and the settings security XML, and now we are connected to Artifact.